Welcome to the deep dive. You know, the global travel industry moves literally trillions of dollars every single year.
Oh, yeah. Massive amounts of money.
Right. But the people who actually drive a huge chunk of those bookings, talking about the creators, the freelancers, or just the everyday organizers in your friend group, they're usually stuck waiting like 90 days just to get a $50 commission check in the mail.
It's honestly ridiculous. We have all this amazing tech, but the financial infrastructure is basically stuck in the dark ages.
Exactly. You want to monetize your network, maybe actually act as a travel agent, and you just immediately hit this giant brick wall of red tape.
Yeah, you're suddenly drowning in, hotel vendor contracts and these totally Byzantine credit cycles.
Right, just endless paperwork instead of actually building a scalable digital business. But today, we are looking at a stack of sources, specifically some app descriptions, FAQs, and platform documentation for a system called MyTravaly Gateway.
Which is super interesting because it's tackling that exact problem.
It really is. The mission of our deep dive today is to dissect exactly how this app is attempting to tear down that wall of red tape. We're looking at a platform that claims to turn your personal network into a continuous income stream, basically acting as a smart distribution channel for the whole creator and agent economy.
And doing it all from a smartphone, which is wild.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the documentation outlines a process that bypasses all those legacy hurdles in 3 seemingly simple steps, which are add funds, set markup, and book.
Yeah, and just looking at those 3 steps, we are seeing a fundamental rewiring of B2B travel distribution.
Because traditional agents are completely tethered to those hotel contracts, right?
Exactly. You book a room for a client, the client stays there, and then your accounting department has to literally hunt down their accounting department just to extract your tiny cut.
Which sounds exhausting.
It is. So MyTravaly Gateway is targeting travel advisors, students, and digital entrepreneurs by attempting to globalize and completely digitize that entire messy back-office process.
So shifting from a 90-day waiting game to a 3-step digital process, that requires a massive mechanical change. To understand how they actually bypass the contracts and the credit checks, we really have to look at its literal fuel source.
Right, the eCash.
Yeah, the documentation refers to this as eCash. What exactly is that?
Well, eCash is basically the engine that makes the rest of the platform's claims possible. So the first step, add funds, requires you to deposit real money into your MyTravaly Gateway account.
Yep.
And that money immediately converts into this prepaid, closed-loop travel wallet. Because the capital is preloaded and verified, it allows you to instantly confirm hotel bookings literally anywhere in their global inventory.
So you aren't sending a request to a hotel and then, sitting around waiting for manual approval?
Nope. No waiting for a credit authorization or anything. The funds are already sitting in the ecosystem, so booking is instant.
Okay, but wait. What happens when the inevitable cancellation occurs? Because clients cancel all the time.
Totally. The sources indicate it is entirely system-driven. So if a cancellation aligns with the specific hotel's policy, the eligible refund is processed and routed straight back into your eCash wallet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, the whole design is intended to keep the capital fluid and available for your very next transaction. You don't have to route it back through a traditional bank clearing process.
I'm picturing this eCash system like walking into a massive vintage arcade.
Okay, I like that.
Like if you want to play 50 different games, you don't walk up to every single arcade cabinet and try to sign a specialized micro contract with the owner of that specific machine, right?
Right, that would be a nightmare.
Exactly. You go to the central token machine, you load up your card with your own money once, and suddenly you have instantaneous, universal access to every single game in the building. You just tap and play.
That is a perfect way to look at it. Here, you load your eCash wallet once, and you instantly unlock the global hotel inventory. The architecture basically treats your preloaded capital as instant trust.
You're purchasing your own booking power up front.
Exact.
But wait, I'm looking at this requirement to preload, and my immediate instinct as a skeptical freelancer is that this feels like a massive liquidity trap.
How so?
Well, why would I lock my money into an app's wallet before I even have a client ready to book? If I put $1,000 into eCash and my car breaks down the next day, I can't exactly pay my mechanic with travel tokens.
No, you definitely can't.
Right. So what am I sacrificing here just to get this speed?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, you are touching on the exact trade-off at the heart of this entire model.
Right.
You are sacrificing baseline liquidity for transactional velocity.
Transactional velocity, meaning speed.
Yes, because in the modern digital travel business, speed is the primary currency of trust. Let's
Oh,
say a client direct messages you wanting to lock down a limited availability room.
okay.
If you tell them to wait 24 hours while you secure credit approval from a vendor, that client is just going to open another tab and book it themselves.
Yeah, that's so true. They have zero patience.
Exactly. By taking on the liquidity risk yourself and preloading the wallet, you are basically buying the ability to service the client in real time.
So you are paying for the autonomy to strike while the iron is hot.
Right. And the platform clearly understands this friction too because they actively subsidize that liquidity risk.
What do you mean by subsidize?
The source documents detail this really specific incentive structure. Every time you add funds, you receive an instant 5% reward.
Wait, really? Just for adding money?
Yep. The example they use is adding 5,000 rupees, or, whatever the local equivalent is. That immediately yields an extra 250 rupees credited directly to your eCash balance.
So they are inflating your capital the second it hits the wallet.
Exactly. And the documentation explicitly states there is no fixed limit on how many times you can trigger this reward. You drop in 10,000, you get 500. The underlying mechanic here is fascinating. By giving you that 5% bonus, the platform is essentially securing your guaranteed transaction volume. They build this massive pool of guaranteed liquidity, which gives them the leverage to go to global hotel chains and negotiate way better baseline rates.
Oh, I see. So they are sharing a piece of that margin with you up front just to get your capital into their closed loop.
Precisely.
So preloading capital solves the friction of the transaction, and you get a little bump for playing ball. But speed is completely useless if the margins are terrible.
Very true.
Because in the traditional agency model, hotels dictate your commission. A massive luxury chain might give you 10%, while some budget brand might give you 2%, or honestly, nothing at all.
Yeah, it's totally at their mercy.
So how does shifting to this decentralized e-cash model actually change the math for the user? This brings us to the core monetization tool in the documentation, which is a set markup feature.
Right, and this feature represents a complete inversion of the traditional power dynamic. The platform aggregates what they call net prices for every single hotel.
Which is just the raw cost.
Exactly. It's the absolute floor cost of the room, totally stripped of any retail padding. Then the user, the creator, or the agent is given a digital slider to manually set their own profit margin right on top of that net price.
And it goes from 1% to 10%, right?
Yes, anywhere in that range. You have total control.
The math they outline in the sources makes this incredibly tangible. Let's just say the net price for a hotel is 4,000 rupees. You adjust your slider and lock in a 10% markup.
Okay.
Your client is presented with a final bill of 4,400 rupees. That 400 rupee difference isn't some theoretical commission that gets held in escrow for 3 months. That 400 is your finalized instant profit.
Exactly. You are no longer waiting to see what the hotel deems you are worth. You are actively pricing your own service into the transaction.
But I'm looking at this slider feature, and my immediate thought is, if I have total, absolute control over my own margin, why wouldn't I just crank it to 10% every single time?
It's tempting, for sure.
Right. If I'm trying to build a business, wouldn't maximizing the margin on every single transaction be the fastest way to grow? Won't I just make the most money? But looking at the sources, they seem to suggest that's actually a trap.
It is a classic novice trap to always chase the highest possible percentage. The first thing the documentation clarifies is that the client never actually sees a line item that says agent markup.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, they only see the final bundled price of 4,400. However, clients are super savvy. They cross-reference prices all the time.
Oh, right. They'll just check another website.
Exactly. If you blindly max out at 10% on every single property, your final price might exceed what the client can find on a public booking engine, and you just lose the sale entirely.
So you still have to operate within the reality of the open market. You can't just be greedy.
Right. And the FAQs actually provide strategic guidance on how to manipulate this slider based on the specific context of the booking.
How'd they break it down?
Well, they recommend a lean 3% to 5% markup if your strategy relies on high volume.
Oh, like booking a block of 50 hostel beds for a massive student group. You keep the price incredibly sharp because the sheer volume makes up for the thin margin.
Exactly. Then they suggest a 6% to 8% range for a balanced earning model, which would apply to, your standard everyday vacation bookings.
Makes sense.
And finally, they reserve the 8% to 10% recommendation for premium or exclusive bookings.
That makes a lot of psychological sense. I
Well,
mean, if you are booking a highly personalized luxury corporate retreat, the client isn't really nickel and diming the room rate.
no, not at all.
They are paying for your premium concierge service, your curation, and basically your ability to execute flawlessly.
Exactly. The user effectively acts as their own dynamic pricing algorithm. You can lower the markup to 4% as a loyalty perk for a repeat client, but then bump it to 8% for a super complex one-off booking.
That flexibility is huge.
It is. But the documentation also delivers a very sharp warning against racing to the bottom just to guarantee a sale. They illustrate this with a simple comparison.
What's comparison?
Setting a 1% margin on a 5,000 rupee booking yields only 50 rupees. But an 8% margin on that same 5,000 yields 400 rupees.
Wow. And the difference in your actual effort to book the room is zero.
Zero.
But the difference in revenue is massive.
Right. The philosophical point the platform is making here is that your time managing the client's questions, curating the property, handling the transaction, it has inherent value. If you consistently undersell yourself at 1%, you will just burn out before you ever build a sustainable business.
That is a really solid point. So let's look at the settlement loop, because this is where the eCash mechanism and that markup slider suddenly collide. We established earlier that the legacy industry forces agents to wait weeks or months for their cut.
Oh, yeah, it's brutal. But the settlement speed detailed in these sources is borderline instantaneous.
Really?
Yeah. When a booking is confirmed using your preloaded eCash, your chosen markup and any other platform commissions you've earned are mathematically extracted and deposited right back into your eCash wallet within 5 to 10 minutes.
Wait, a 5 to 10 minute turnaround on commission settlement?
Yes.
That is practically unheard of in this industry.
It's crazy fast.
But
But it's only possible because the entire transaction is occurring on the platform's internal ledger.
because of the preloaded funds.
Exactly. Because you preloaded the capital, the platform doesn't have to wait for a credit card processor to clear the client's funds, and they don't have to wait for the hotel to issue a rebate.
The money is already right there in the ecosystem.
Yep. So they can instantly reallocate your 400 rupee profit back to your digital wallet. You book the room, the client is confirmed, and minutes later, your profit is sitting there ready to be used as working capital for the very next booking.
Okay, so active booking is essentially trading your time for a margin. It is a fantastic hustle, but you are still limited by the number of hours in the day, right? You can only personally service so many clients.
That's the ceiling for any freelancer.
But the source material outlines an entirely separate layer to this platform, which is designed to scale the business without actively managing more transactions.
Ah, yes. The referral program.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because they are heavily incentivizing network effects. You, as a user, are given a unique referral link.
Right.
You share that link with a peer, maybe a fellow student, content creator, or just someone looking for a side business. When that peer signs up, the platform drops 20 rupees in eCash into your wallet and 20 rupees into theirs.
Which is smart. It reduces the friction of onboarding by giving them immediate, tangible value. Just a little taste.
Exactly. But the sign-up bonus is just the hook. The core of the program triggers when that referred friend actually utilizes the app.
Right, when they start booking.
Yeah, the sources define a qualifying booking as anything worth 2,000 rupees or more. For every single qualifying booking your friend executes, you earn 50 rupees in eCash.
Wow.
And this is not a one-time bounty.
Right.
You earn that 50 rupees on every qualifying booking they make, basically in perpetuity.
So as long as the network you built remains active, you are generating passive revenue.
Yes. The documentation maps out a scaling example that really crystallizes the math here. Imagine you distribute your link and successfully refer just 10 people.
Okay, just 10.
Over the next few months, each of those 10 people manages to book 5 hotels for their own clients. That is 50 total bookings generated by your downstream network.
Right, 10 times 5.
You multiply those 50 bookings by your 50 rupee reward, and you have just generated 2,500 rupees in continuous earnings.
And you didn't source those 50 clients at all. You didn't adjust the markup slider for those rooms, and you definitely didn't handle any of the customer service.
Exactly. It's like planting an orchard. You do the upfront labor of planting the tree, sharing your link, explaining the platform to your peers.
Yeah.
But as long as that tree keeps bearing fruit, meaning your friend keeps booking a reward, you just keep harvesting without doing any additional labor. You are monetizing the success of your network.
What's fascinating here is the underlying economic architecture, because these features, the eCash wallet, the dynamic markup slider, the lifetime referral rewards, they are not isolated tools.
They all connect.
Right, they are engineered to feed into a massive closed-loop reinvestment cycle.
Walk me through the flow of that capital. How does it actually cycle?
Well, the platform's ultimate goal is to keep capital circulating within its own borders. So you execute active bookings, which generates your custom profit margin.
Okay, that's stream one.
Then you inject fresh funds from your bank to scale up, which triggers that instant 5% system reward.
Stream two.
And then you cultivate a referral network, which drips a continuous stream of passive 50 rupee payouts.
Stream three.
Exactly. And all three of these distinct revenue streams consolidate directly back into your eCash wallet.
So it all pools into one centralized reserve of booking power.
Yes. By consolidating the active margins, the passive orchard harvests, and the system bonuses, your overall liquidity is constantly compounding.
Meaning you can take on bigger clients.
Precisely. With a larger eCash reserve, you can suddenly handle the upfront cost of a massive corporate retreat or like a luxury villa. That higher baseline cost allows you to apply your 8% markup to a much larger number, which generates an exponentially larger profit, which dumps right back into the eCash wallet.
It's a flywheel.
It really is. The system is meticulously designed to accelerate your working capital as long as you keep the money inside the app.
It fundamentally changes the math of starting from zero. We began this deep dive talking about the massive, intimidating wall of red tape that has historically kept regular people entirely out of the travel industry.
The contracts, the delayed payments, the corporate gatekeeping, all of it.
Yeah, and what we are seeing in these sources is a very deliberate blueprint for completely dismantling that infrastructure.
Without a doubt.
So what does this all mean for you listening right now? It means that the definition of a travel agent is fundamentally shifting.
It really is.
Whether you are a college student looking to monetize the headache of planning a massive spring break trip, a freelancer with a dedicated social media following, or someone genuinely aiming to build a full-scale digital tour operation, the barrier to entry is entirely different now.
It's practically non-existent compared to 10 years ago.
Exactly. You don't need to spend 6 months begging hotel chains for competitive net rates. You don't need to subject your business to the unpredictable 90-day delays of corporate commission payouts. In 3 steps, funding your digital wallet, analyzing the market to set your own margin, and booking the inventory, you basically bypass the traditional gatekeepers. You take on the initial liquidity risk, but in exchange, you maintain absolute control over your pricing and you realize your profits in minutes.
You know, this shift in the mechanical reality of the industry raises a really deep structural question, and it is something I want to leave everyone to really analyze and chew on.
What's that?
Well, we've spent this deep dive exploring how a platform like MyTravaly Gateway empowers the individual creator or the solo entrepreneur. But zoom out and look at the macro ecosystem for a second.
Okay.
The travel industry has long been dominated by massive, centralized corporate mega agencies, and that's because they were the only ones with the capital and the infrastructure to actually handle the friction of global bookings.
Right. They had the armies of accountants to chase down the payments.
Exactly. But if decentralized closed-loop tools now allow literally any individual with a smartphone, a preloaded wallet, and a personal network to act as a fully functioning instant booking travel agency, what happens to those legacy giants?
That is a fascinating point.
Are we currently looking at the dawn of a future where the entire global travel industry is quietly booked peer-to-peer through a massive web of micro creators? And if the technical friction that kept those mega agencies in power is suddenly just gone, does that mean the massive, slow-moving travel corporations are fundamentally destined to become obsolete?